Hello and welcome to A Question of Law. My name is David Kwekusechi. Now, this is City TV's legal education program that seeks to break down certain aspects of the law as pertaining different aspects of our daily lives. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, the show is interactive. We definitely want to hear from you. So kindly use the hashtag A Question of Law. And the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. My guests are seated. I have with me today Clement Kujo Akapam, who is a private legal practitioner and also a senior law lecturer at the Faculty of Law at GIMPA. And then also Salam Adunu, who is also a private legal practitioner. They're both here. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hi. Very good. Good to be
you
here,
good?
as always.
We're doing well.
You look very prepared for today.
No, because you've told us that we should prepare. Coming to discuss immunities and privileges.
I know, right?
We have to prepare. So we've come with books.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, you know, one of the things that has been in the news lately has been this issue of the Honorable Xavier Sosu. Xavier Sosu, and you know, the issue of the immunity of MPs. The conversation is coming up. Police are looking to arrest him. He's evading arrest and all of those things. The question is, what does the law actually say? At what point in time are MPs immune? And when can they be arrested by the police? And so on and so forth. Well, today on the question of law, we're going to break it down and understand it. Let's take a look at this insert. We'll be right back.
On Monday, October 25, 2021, the Member of Parliament for Madina, Francis Xavier Sosu, joined constituents to demonstrate over deplorable roads in the constituency. The police personnel providing security during the protest attempted to arrest him, but the constituents resisted. The Madina legislator reported the matter on the floor of Parliament, and the Speaker of the House, Alban S.K. Bagwin, cautioned the police against such actions.
I myself will be issuing a statement in the near future on what is happening to members of Parliament from both sides of the House. Both sides of the House. I receive complaints. I receive information about how police service, some personnel, pursue members of Parliament from both sides of the House. And I have on a number of occasions intervened to talk to the authorities and to draw their attention to the law.
Almost a week after the incident, some security operatives made another attempt to arrest the Madina lawmaker at the Believers' House of Prayers Ministry. The head pastor of the church narrated the incident to City News.
We invited Honorable Francis Sosu as our guest speaker, because we are in his constituency. So he came. He was preaching. Whilst the ushers came to inform me that there are some security men who are here to arrest him. So I have to come out to hear from them. They said they are here to take him to the police headquarters. And I said, okay, he's preaching. Anyway, what is the issue? And can I have a look at their arrest warrant? And they couldn't provide that. And later they showed me their ID. That's two of them showed me their ID, that they are coming from the police CID headquarters. And I said, okay. Then when he finished preaching, and I will deliver the message to him, and then we can take it up from there. So when he finished preaching, and I took over to pray for him, and I saw the youth in the constituency gathering. Yeah, the number was huge. That even some of the church members had to escape because of fear.
All right. So now it is believed that the reason why the police came in to arrest him initially was because of the blockade on the roads and the burning of tires and all those things. Well, let's get into the story. Let's get into the issues and break it down. Find out what the law actually says as far as MPs are concerned. All right. So let's get into the nitty-gritties of it. Who wants to take it first?
No, I think I'll start.
Okay, all right.
I want to situate this because the conversation has gone on for a while, but we need to situate this in the broader context of parliamentary privileges and immunities.
Okay.
Because we are just seeing one aspect, which is the aspect where we are being told that MPs cannot be arrested. So let's look at the history. Where have we come from? We can trace this issue of parliamentary immunities, parliamentary privileges, all the way back to the 12th century, where in England, Richard II will want to control Parliament by ensuring that he vetoes what they do, interrupts their proceedings. So steps are taken in England to ensure that Parliament is giving certain protections when they are conducting parliamentary proceedings. Now, the protection covered both speech, so what you say on the floor of Parliament cannot be held against you.
Interesting.
What you say in a debate cannot be held against you, and you cannot be prevented as a member of Parliament from taking part in parliamentary proceedings. So this is where we find the antecedents of what we are seeing today. And as Ghana, the earliest expression of parliamentary immunities and privileges we can trace to our 69 Constitution. So in our 69 Constitution, clearly it will talk about arrest. Fast forward to 1992. If you look at the 1992 Constitution, it tries to broaden the scope, but will not mention arrest. I would like to read precisely what the Constitution says in Article 117. Now, Article 117, the side note, which helps to give us understanding of the provision. This is what it says: immunity from service of process and arrest. But if you read the provision itself, you don't see arrest in there. This is what 117 says. Civil or criminal process. So a civil or criminal process in our understanding in law is a writ, a petition, a charge sheet. Civil or criminal process coming from any court, so maybe an order of a court as well, or placed out of Parliament, shall not be served on or executed in relation to the Speaker or a Member of Parliament or the Clerk of Parliament while he is on his way to, attending at, or returning from any proceedings of Parliament. So you can see that in here, we must accept that arrest is not mentioned. From the side note and from the history, we can contemplate the legislative intent, which might include an arrest of a Member of Parliament. So the interpretation we've given to 117 generally is that you cannot arrest a Member of Parliament who is on his way to Parliament, attending to Parliament, or from Parliament. Now, this provision does not mean that members of Parliament are above the law. The essence of the provision is to clothe members of Parliament with protection in order to take part in parliamentary proceedings. And if we go back to the history as well, what you did in Parliament is what you got protection from. So the privilege was in Parliament, around Parliament. If you say the same thing outside Parliament, or you do the same act outside Parliament, you will expose yourself to treatment as the law requires. So the name itself has not helped in understanding this concept of parliamentary privilege.
Yeah.
Because when I say privilege,
Yeah.
it means that a certain, but it's more of a courtesy that is
Okay.
being extended to members of parliament.
yeah.
And that courtesy is to ensure that they are in a position to do their work properly.
Okay.
Now, why will framers of the Constitution try to protect members of parliament in this light? They will want to do that because parliament serves as a check on the executive and also to an extent on the judiciary. So to be able to perform this role of checks and balances, we will need to protect parliament and give them
Yeah.
the needed protection
Okay.
to undertake their roles as members of parliament. We shouldn't misinterpret that to mean they are being treated above the law.
Okay.
Because we've had instances in this country where members of parliament have been arrested, they've been invited to the police station, and they have responded
Yeah.
to such invitations. So it's clear, the law protects members of parliament. It's a courtesy, it's a privilege, but it has its limitations. And the limitation is so far as you are involved in the doing of parliamentary business. And what amounts to parliamentary proceedings is actually also not even defined. But you can glean from the history that it will mean debates in parliament, committee work, meeting constituents. I will stretch it to that extent to include parliamentary proceedings. So, Kweku, in sum,
Yeah.
parliamentary privilege does not mean special treatment.
Okay.
It does not mean special treatment. Because if we say special treatment, then what we are doing is that we will be placing members of parliament outside
Of the
the
law.
confines of the law.
Yeah.
So it's a courtesy extended to members of parliament
Because of their work.
because of their work.
Okay.
So you only draw that privilege or have that cloak of immunity when you are doing your work. So
Okay.
when you are not doing your work and you are having dinner with your family
Yeah.
at the mall,
Yeah.
you cannot be claiming.
Okay, so what I find interesting though is that the second attempt to arrest him, which the police are saying they didn't send anybody there to do that, but from all the other accounts, it seems as though there was a DSP Boachi who was on the ground.
Right.
He identified himself as such and said he was coming from the IGP as far as the people were concerned.
Right.
That was the testimony that they gave. But here's my question. The Honorable Member of Parliament had been invited as a Member of Parliament to speak or to preach in the service at the church in Medina. And they were saying that because he was their MP.
Okay.
Use it as a, so now he's not necessarily doing parliamentary work, but he's there because he's an MP. He would not have been invited. They invited him because they said, they were doing a series of things that month, right? And it was culminating in the month. They said, we want our MP to come and speak to us.
Right.
Do you see? In the combination of the program.
I think it makes it more interesting and it makes it even murkier. So, Clement did a fantastic job by laying out the context and everything. There is a reason for immunity or privilege. So, in the judiciary, the judges have immunity. In the executive or members of the executive have immunity. So, for example, you cannot arrest the president.
Yeah.
Indeed, he's the only person who is beyond arrest, and that is clear in the law. You cannot arrest the president. You can only do so after he has left the office as president.
Okay.
There are things you cannot do to an MP. When there are privileges they have, and as Clement said, these privileges are extended to them to enable them discharge their duty as the representatives of the people. I've also heard the argument that the demonstration that the honorable member in question was leading was part of his parliamentary work. But the provisions of the Constitution, 117, for example, are interesting because it says parliamentary proceedings.
Yeah.
What then is parliamentary proceedings?
Exactly.
So because it's not very clear, or maybe we have sought to give it a broader or liberal interpretation to include the fact that if you are meeting your constituents in your constituency,
constituency.
doing the job of the representative of the people, that constitutes parliamentary work. We have obfuscated the whole essence of this. That is why I'm one of the people who support the talk about going to court, to the Supreme Court, to seek interpretation to this. I'm sure this will bring, some sanity and clarity to it. So, for example...
No, Selam, interpretation to what?
So, for example, if we talk about parliamentary proceedings...
So, interpretation to what amounts to parliamentary
proceedings. And also, you see, some of the provisions are quite nebulous. Returning from attending at and returning from attending at and maybe going to Parliament. Attending at, we don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Returning from, what does it mean? If I close from Parliament and I pass by your house,
and I'm going home,
we have a conversation, for hours, and I leave your house, going to my house, and you want to arrest me. Can I say I'm coming from Parliament?
No, but you are.
Am I coming from Parliament really? No. So in one breath, yes, I'm coming from Parliament.
Yeah.
In another breath, am I really coming from Parliament?
No,
because
from my house.
There's been an intervening, event.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So in other jurisdictions, they are quite clear on the number of days or hours that will qualify for going to Parliament or going for leaving Parliament.
Okay.
So, for example, if I'm to go to Parliament maybe at 10 or 11, I leave my house at dawn to do a few things equally important before I get to Parliament.
Yeah.
When you arrest me at dawn, can I
that,
say that I'm going to Parliament?
Yeah.
Especially when I'm driving the opposite direction, going to do something else, before later returning to Parliament. Can I say I'm going to Parliament?
You're going to Parliament.
But ultimately, you are going to Parliament.
You're going to Parliament.
After Parliament,
ultimately, you're going to Parliament.
After Parliament, I may go somewhere else. So can you then also say that ultimately, I'm going to that other place?
Okay.
So
no, you are from Parliament.
My view is that we understand it in one breath like that, but in another breath, I think it is too nebulous. It is not tight. We need to have a proper, in some places they say 5 days to Parliament.
Okay.
You are going to Parliament because they calculated generally how long it would take you to drive from one part of the country to the House of Parliament, and how long you drive from Parliament to some other part of the country. So within that period, you can say you are returning from Parliament or you are going to Parliament. I think we don't have that in our law, and that for me is a difficult, because in all sincerity, people can argue that leading his people to call for their fair share of the national cake in terms of road infrastructure, etc., is doing the work of representing the people, even though there's a broader argument that MPs are not development agents.
Right.
But people can argue that he was leading his people
in representing.
He was representing them and representing their interest. And indeed, I must say that I read the correspondences between the MP in question and the police. It was quite cordial from the beginning when he was seeking to notify the police of the intended demonstration. Indeed, I watched an interview of him on CNR where he went to visit some people and he realized the roads were very bad, and he served notice that he gave notice of a number of days or a month or so.
It was more than a week.
Yes. If government did not do anything about the roads, he would lead the people to demonstrate. And true to his word, he tried to do that. So he wrote to the police. The police replied and told him that the date he gave was not favorable because that week the president was going to be touring Accra or the Greater Accra region. And that same week, the law students were also going to demonstrate. So it stretched the police capacity a bit. And so they suggested a date to him, which he accepted, and he accepted in writing. So I was very happy that the two sides were engaging quite cordially. And then on the day of the event, out of nowhere, I read that Sosu was being, chased or wanted by the police because the demonstration had gone south. It had gone a certain way.
But then,
and that was quite interesting.
It also raises some other questions, but I'll go. You finish.
No, so I mean, the point Selom makes about going to, coming from, attending. I don't think that we're saying here that a member of parliament cannot be arrested. It is how the arrest of a member of parliament is effected, which is important. So whether he's going to, attending at, or from parliament, what we should interrogate is how the police, bearing in mind the courtesy extended to members of parliament, not placing them above the law, but the courtesy extended to them in the doing of their work. How do we go about arresting members of parliament? And it is that procedure that we also don't have clarity on. And for the police themselves, is he a suspect? Is he an interested person? Is he an accused person? If he's a suspect, do your investigations. After your investigations, if you want to, you know the procedure to go to get your warrant to get him. If he's a person of interest, you invite him, he declines to come, he's a person of interest, go on with your investigations. But even between the police and parliament, there is a standing relationship on how they deal with these issues. This is not the first time that we've had members of parliament having interacted with the law and found themselves on the wrong side of the law. And there's a framework within which these arrests are effected. So I think that we should send a clear message to the citizen, because it also has a certain way of making members of parliament unpopular. The argument is not members of parliament claiming superiority over us as citizens. The argument is that members of parliament have a certain duty to perform, and that duty includes a check on the executive. So in performing that duty, we need to protect them and give them certain courtesies.
What about on the field of engagement? When they were on the ground, I'm raising this because Honorable Inusa Fusini, we spoke to him on Breakfast Daily, and he made a comment, very interesting comment. He said that someone cannot be vicariously held liable for another person's misdoings, right? So you're saying that, for example, if somebody is burning tires, right, was the honorable member burning tires?
Well,
if the honorable member was not burning tires himself, can he be held culpable for somebody else burning tires?
Well,
this is group action,
but I find it quite problematic. But he's a lawyer, and that's a view he's proffering, and I have no problem with that. But all these things come under the Public Order Act. That's how come before the demonstration, they wrote to the police notifying them, and the police had to respond, etc. That is the law. When you look at the Public Order Act, Section 3 of the Public Order Act says, responsibility of organizers and other persons. It reads, where at any special event, any damage is caused to any public property, the organizers or any other persons found to have been responsible for the damage caused shall be liable to pay for the cost of the damage. Any person taking part in a special event shall obey the directions of the police officers, etc., etc. So they are still investigating. We don't know what they have. If they are able to determine that in the process of burning ties, etc., they destroyed something, they have the right to hold the organizers of the event, liable or accountable. And we all know that the MP in question was a key organizer of this demonstration. So, in my view, there is absolutely nothing wrong in wanting to interrogate or have a discussion or a conversation with the MP to find out what he knows or get him to answer a few questions on the said event. In any case, he led the people. So if there's a problem, he has to speak to it. So I really have no problem with that. You see, stretching this, expanding on this issue about privileges and immunities, it is an important thing. So look at our parliament today, 137. The framers of the law contemplated a situation where it could be possible that the executive, for example, or whoever has the power, would, wanting to pass a very important agreement or bill or whatever to it, and, judging from maybe the opposition it may be getting from the other side on the bill, could try to diminish the numbers of the other side. So we have 137. We can have a situation, maybe not under this regime, but we can have a situation someday where the government of the day can decide to press on frivolous charges against 3-4 MPs from the other side and get them all arrested in the morning of the passage of the bill or debate or whatever. And in that case, you would have diminished the numbers of the opposition, and that would have gone against them, and that wouldn't have been good for democracy. Now, returning from, we don't want a situation where, for fear of being arrested from Parliament, MPs will not be in Parliament to do their job. So it's an important provision. But what we also have to ensure is done is that the two sides must talk. We are not saying that MPs are above the law. And that's also a concern to me, because we have to ensure that this is done in such a way as not to send the signal to the public that MPs are above the law. Because for now, or people say that there are two kinds of laws for two kinds of people in Ghana. There's the law for the ordinary people or the ordinary man, and there's also the law for the big people. So if you're a big man, you can do some things and get away with it. When that thinking becomes crystallized in the minds of people, then we are in for trouble. We have to ensure that this situation does not crystallize that perception in the minds of people. If the MP has done something wrong, he is not above the law. He has to be dealt with. But there are processes. Let's ensure that we go through those processes. And those processes have been laid out for good reason. And they were laid out before the specific, circumstance we have today.
So what? Okay, my worry is, well, no, it's not really a worry. I'm just curious about the fact that the Honourable Member of Parliament is one person. How difficult can it be to arrest him? Because you've done the first attempt. He supposedly escaped in his vehicle, driven by a policeman who has since been interdicted. But second one, he's
and even before that, I mean, the fact of the interdiction of the police officer should tell everybody how seriously the police administration is considering this. And I've not heard much about why he was interdicted. Why should he be interdicted? Or because his colleagues were trying to arrest him and he drove him away, he should have known better?
They said,
I don't know.
They said that he endangered the lives of other policemen, 2 officers.
By driving in the way he did.
Almost ran them down. Yeah. I don't think he hit them. I think it was just he endangered them. And they reported the matter.
Okay.
Yeah. The 2 policemen on the ground reported the matter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I see. If you did you get his concern? You are raising a concern initially. How difficult will it be? To arrest?
That's what I'm saying. That this is not the first time that the police have attempted to arrest them.
If you recall, Kennedy, what's the name? Kennedy, Japan.
Yes.
In 4 or 5 years ago, or 6-7 years ago, I think there was this whole thing about genocide. I mean, those huge charges they brought against him for making comments people felt were not sensible. I mean, in terms of the ethnocentric nature, they came. He was arrested. He was in court for a while. He was an MP.
Yes.
I'm sure they went through a certain process to get him arrested, and we did not hear all these things. The good thing about this, Kweku, is that after this is done, in our minds, hopefully, we will be clear on what the processes and the procedures are. And hopefully, we will not be here again in the short term, going through all these, issues of arresting MPs, in this manner.
So to add to what Salom just said, Kweku, there's a system within Parliament that ensures that the police and members of Parliament interact when they are found on the wrong side of the law. In relation to this issue that we are discussing, why didn't we employ that process? And if we attempted to use that process, what were the challenges that the police now decided that they are opting for? The other way of trying to arrest him. These are the issues that we will need to work on. But for Parliament as an institution, they will need to use their standing orders to clearly delineate the boundaries of what we mean by parliamentary proceedings. That's where it will start from. So that members of Parliament themselves are clear in their minds the scope of what is meant by parliamentary proceedings. So that if it is in the standing orders, we are all clear that debates on the floor, committee meetings, in and outside Parliament, or when Parliament convenes anywhere, that's parliamentary proceeding. Let's have a clear understanding of
what
this.
the proceedings are. So
Otherwise, very soon,
yeah,
even going to the market on a Sunday
with a few constituents.
with your constituency, you might be interpreted.
That my constituents want to see me.
Yeah.
So I went to the market
and
to
I'm
interact
with
with them.
So we need
and buy stuff from them.
And that's why the history of these privileges and immunities is very important, because it is meant to enable you to do your parliamentary work, and not as a way to frustrate the state from also enforcing law.
Okay. So because you're saying that it's to facilitate their work, and it's not like a get out of jail free card kind of situation. So if somebody has something against an MP and wants to sue them in court, they can, right?
Of course you can.
Yes.
Okay.
The restriction in 117 is that process cannot be served on him
whilst on his way at or from Parliament.
So because of the challenge in 117, Parliament has created a system where MPs are served.
Okay.
And that system works. And that's why we have Honorable Ayariga was in court. He was served.
He was served, yeah.
There are members of Parliament who have been to court. They were served. There's no way you go to court without being served. So there's a process.
Okay.
My issue is that we should follow the process. And if the process is not yielding the results, then now it enables the police to decide to use other means.
But what do you say about the Speaker's letter, for example, his response to the police letter? My reading of that letter suggests or appears as if the Speaker is saying, we are not releasing the man to you. That was quite clear to me from it. We are not releasing the man to you. So
At this time.
At this time means what?
Because Parliament is in session and he's needed. So that's what I'm saying, that if the
IGP and Speaker should be talking.
David,
really, that's really what it is.
David, if the MP has committed a crime, crime does not expire.
There's no limitation.
So what is the urgency? The police, you've made it clear that a certain wrong
has been, and you're trying to get it.
You're trying to correct it. The Speaker says, at this time, we are unable to.
Okay.
What is the urgency?
Yeah.
So, if the two institutions agree that, at this time you're unable, so if I'm advising the police, you write to them, so when next?
Yes.
And let them give you a date.
Yes.
And then you bid your time.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
We wouldn't be having this discussion. We wouldn't be having this discussion.
All right. Anyway, a lot more to talk about. Let's take a short break. A question of law. We'll be right back.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back. Now, lots of conversations that are going on here, very exciting ones at that. Now, in the last few days, there's been also, agitations on the labor front by the Health Services Workers Union. Let's take a look at this insight. We'll come back and we'll delve into the conversations. Industrial actions legal?
Patients who sought medical care from public health facilities in the past days had no option than to visit private hospitals or wait until the Health Services Workers Union called off their strike. On Tuesday, October 26, 2021, members of the Health Services Workers Union began an indefinite strike over poor working conditions. According to the union, the government has failed to review the conditions of service of its members as agreed upon in 2016. The Health Services Workers Union had complained that the government was deliberately discriminating against its members by ignoring its concerns while acting in better faith.
The continuous disregard by the government team to respond to our simple request has pushed us to the wall and this far. Now to our cherished members who have been patient enough to work up to now, we salute you. Today, 25th October 2021, must be the last day that you will go to work as you have demanded. From tomorrow, 26th October 2021, please stay at home till you hear from your leaders.
All right, so are industrial actions legal?
Of course, they are legal. So we can have illegal or unlawful industrial action,
okay,
and legal or lawful industrial action.
Explain.
But in principle, industrial actions are permitted by law, let me put it that way. But there are procedures again. A lot of legal things are procedural. There are procedures, there are processes you must go through in order to do or undertake a lawful industrial action. Industrial actions generally will come under right of expression, assembly, association, demonstration, all those things. So the point is, if you, or industrial actions also result from disputes between employers and employees, for example. When those disputes are not solved, or if those disputes are not solved, there should be a way of venting your displeasure at the process to make your case, to ensure that at least what you brought to the table is looked at. You may not get everything, but at least it is looked at, a discussion is held. You may be met halfway. Even if you cannot be given, there should be a discussion, and both parties must leave the table quite satisfied that something has been done about the request they've made. So it is not always that industrial actions have been because of money or other things. There are times that maybe, so recently or some time back, there was some strike because the people said what they needed to do their work wasn't given them, or the things are not there. So they were not striking because of salary or allowances issues, which we've seen many of in the recent past or some time back. Now it was because they needed tools and facilities to work, and those tools and facilities were not provided them. So there could be various reasons for industrial action. A number of things can constitute industrial action. We can have strike, we can have what we call go slow, we can have what we call lockouts, we can have work to rule, etc. There are many forms. Work to rule means you work according to the way the rule is. So, for example, come to work at 8 and close at 5. Ordinarily, you would have come earlier to do a few things. But because you are unhappy with the system or something has happened, and the system is referred you to the rule, you also want to show the system that you know the rule. So you play by the rule the way it is. If you are doing something and it's 5 o'clock, and you must
just
close,
drop it.
You drop everything, pack your bag and go. You are working, to rule. It's also a form of an industrial action. You have lockouts where the employer, for example, can lock the place and you cannot enter. There are lock-ins. There are go-slows. I mean, they will do the job slowly. If there's something they can do to quicken it, they will not. Clients will be seated, complaining, etc. It goes against the employer. There are sit-down strikes. This one, they will not be home. They will come to the workplace, use AC, use electricity, use everything, but they will not do the job. So we'll be incurring costs as far as utilities, etc. are concerned. And we have picketing, etc. And strikes, which we see almost every time. So there are various ways people express themselves at workplace, and they are lawful. You have to notify the employer. When you notify the employer, then that is the beginning of the lawful or the lawfulness of the industrial action.
So, brilliant, Salom. But even though workers will have all these rights, there are certain category of workers that are not permitted also by law
to strike.
Oh, wow.
And these category of workers are workers generally that the Labour Act will say their work, if they are not working, it will lead to a total loss of life.
Okay.
It will cause issues of public health and public safety. So there's a regulation to the Labour Act that will give us a list of some of these workers. But some of these workers have, on occasions, had strike action. So some of these workers will include health workers.
Okay.
Those
as in doctors and nurses?
Doctors and nurses.
Okay.
Essential services.
But so they fall within the category of essential services. Yeah. You have the security agencies.
Okay.
You have even traffic control, meteorological services. So if you belong to the category of essential service provider, and you see sometimes the law gives us protection and also takes away from us. You remember during COVID, there were a category of people who were allowed to work.
Yeah.
And those people felt that they were the important people in this country.
In that case, we were delivering essential services.
Exactly.
But on other occasions, though they are
Some of
essential
us,
services.
some of us were locked out.
No, I won't lie. When during the lockdown, I was driving free on the road to work.
Because you felt
important.
Exactly. So similarly, because of the importance of your work to the generality of the nation, you are not permitted by law to go on strike, lockouts, go slow, work to rule, because it has a way of affecting the state. So yes, there's a general right to associate, general right to express yourself, equality to equal work for equal pay. Where you're not getting the right thing, there's an avenue to vent. But as Selom said, you must follow the procedure if you want to strike. And that you see that there are occasions where the Labour Commission, once a group of workers embark on a strike action, they will issue a statement and say, your strike is illegal. Come to the table and let's talk.
Okay.
So you have the right, but you must exercise that right within the confines of the law. You might have a good case, but you will choose the wrong procedure and you might end up being found at the wrong side of the law. So yes, strikes, industrial actions generally are part of employer-employee relations. They will come up, but they are within the framework of the law, and you must operate within them.
Okay. That being the case, and that having been said, can, let's say, a patient, in the case of the Health Services Workers Union strike, or a student, in the case of a UTEC strike, for example, can any of these persons sue for either loss of life, loss of time, loss of, I mean, can the people on the receiving end of the strike, take the unions to court?
I mean, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So,
would that?
Also, Kweku, there's you must have a cause of action.
Okay.
When you have a cause of action, you must have the person who you are bringing your suit against. So, for a patient who lost a relative because the hospital was on strike, who are you suing? The hospital, the government, or the administrator of the hospital? It raises issues.
Okay.
We will need to look at what led to the death.
Yeah.
Is it linked to the strike? Because for these essential services, when they go on strike, even though they're on strike, they allow certain services
to function.
To also function.
Yeah.
So it's not a total blackout.
Okay.
So those are the things that you will need to be looking out for before you say that I have a cause of action. And because I have a cause of action, now you look who is your cause of action against, and then you will be able to determine. But it's a tricky one.
And I think a lot will depend on the nature of the strike. Was it a lawful strike or not? If it was a lawful strike, then I think it would have had expression in the law, or the law would have provided for it. So even though it would be very unfortunate that somebody will lose a life or will have his or her health situation worsen, like Clement said, you must have a course of action. And who is the course of action directed at? Is it at government, the AG?
Yeah.
And what will you be looking for? These are the questions we must generally, be able to address before thinking about instituting an action.
Some people feel as if the laws as they are, as far as industrial actions are concerned, need to be reviewed or amended. I don't know what your thoughts are on or they look pretty okay as they are.
Well, I mean, there's always room for improvement. I don't know the specific portions of the law they have issues with, but I think the laws are pretty clear. If you are on strike, once the system kicks in, they call you around the table to begin negotiation or to begin looking at the issue, you have to call off the strike or at least suspend the strike, which we hear often. So, for example, the health workers strike, which was recently discontinued, was suspended. They said they had suspended it. They were going for the negotiation. They called them around the table. They will go.
Okay.
But if things don't go well, they will resume.
Okay.
If things go according to plan, or if they're satisfied with the process, they will call it off. So a lot of the strike, or the actions we have seen, have been suspensions. So UTAG, for example, perpetually have been on strike. They only they only suspend it, get back to the classroom to teach because they are around the table.
Pause strike.
Once they are not happy with something or they are given a timeline, lapses, they don't see what they've been promised. They just reactivate it, and the strike is on. So that's how really strikes operate.
Fantastic. Well, interesting convos that we're having here. We want to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. A question of law. We'll be right back.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back. Now, don't forget that the show is interactive. We do want to hear from you. The hashtag is a question of law, and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. Now, the next segment of the show is called The Docket. Now, the docket is that segment where we take your issues, whatever it is that you may be facing, challenges you may be having with the law, some explanations, some education that you want to have. Of course, we are not giving legal advice, we're giving legal education. So you would have to contact a lawyer and then make progress from there. So let's take a look at the docket for today. Hello, Council. I am in a dilemma at the moment. I had a divorce issue, and a family friend recommended this high-end lawyer to me. I was told that he had won many cases in court and that he would be a very good counsel, and so I employed his services. We started proceedings in court, and everything seemed to be going well. We were in the final weeks of settlement when I heard he had been arrested. Upon further inquiries, it was revealed that he did not have the license to practice law. Counsel, I'm a bit scared with these developments. What's going to happen to me? Can I be indicted as well? What happens to my case? Will I have to start all over again? Can I get my funds back for the services I paid him or sue him if I want to? How can the law help me? Well,
Interesting. This is putting lawyers on the spot. Having to pronounce on
I'm conflicted.
You know, on your colleague professionals.
Well, so here's the thing. It says that it seems that he didn't have the license to practice law. So what does that mean?
No, so Kweku, if you don't have a license to practice and you practice, it's an offense.
Okay.
Actually, every process that you have issued becomes a nullity. So sadly for our friend, she would have to start all over again. Because if processes have been filed and based on those processes, the court was giving orders and those orders were being followed through the settlement process, then we have an issue. Because, you know, who becomes a lawyer, and we've said this here, is regulated heavily.
Yeah.
You're giving a license, and even for those who are qualified lawyers, you will have to annually renew your solicitor's license. When I'm in a case with you, at the beginning of the year, the first things lawyers will be checking the validity of your solicitor's license. It's a quick way to knock off the case for 2 or 3 weeks. So even with those who are qualified lawyers, you must go through a process of renewing your license. And this issue of persons faking as lawyers, and that's why I think that the General Legal Council and the Bar Association will now have to find a way of including in our renewal process the continuous legal education. Now we have it, but like the doctors do in every year, you need certain points. You must have attended a certain number of continuous legal education programs.
Okay.
For the doctors' medical programs to be able to renew your license. I think we should do similar for the lawyers. What it will do is that it will ensure a constant interaction with both the GLC and the GBA, and that we can weed out such persons. It's not easy to go through the process. You know, we have 499 on our hand. We have people backlog. So we need to ensure that once you have gone through the process and you've been properly certified as a lawyer, you do your work. And those who have not been so certified, they're prevented from deceiving the public.
How do we identify quack lawyer?
Yes, so I'll get to that. So what happens to the case? The case technically did not start because everything that has gone on
was illegal.
Would have been null and void.
Okay.
So it's as if nothing happened.
Okay.
So the case would have to start again. So that's unfortunate.
He or she
Number
must
2,
find a lawyer.
What can happen to her? Will she be indicted if she was aware, or he or she was aware that the person was not a lawyer, and she still went ahead to engage the services? Then she will be complicit. But from the narration, it doesn't appear she was. So that's fine. Nothing will happen to her. In fact, in this case, I'm sure she would have been a victim. What can she do? Can she get her money back? So I think that'll be a civil action. She can institute a civil action against the lawyer in question. The lawyer in question surely must go to the criminal process. That is a sin against the state. The state is interested.
You mean
so
the fake lawyer in question?
The fake lawyer in question. That's a sin against the state. The state has laid out the law and procedure about how to become a lawyer. If you go against that, that is an infringement, and you have to pay for it. So surely the criminal process will have to kick in. But beyond the criminal process, if she's minded, she can go to the civil process to have a refund of her money. But how do we identify a fake lawyer? Well, there are fakes in every profession. There are fake doctors. There are fake pastors. There are fake journalists. There are fake people.
Fake policemen.
Fake policemen. I mean, so, and actually find some of these guys very
daring,
very bold. I mean, they wear the gown and the wig, and they stand before judges and they argue. I mean, and I wonder how they do that. But
no, you just buy the wig and the gown.
But I mean, the argument,
and you just get the
but you see, the arguments sometimes can be convincing. So you don't, so that even the judge that is sitting there or the magistrate cannot read
But
in a recent case,
the few cases we've had in the last few years, the judges and some lawyers have suspected that is this guy a lawyer?
Okay.
There are times you feel so in court, but they are lawyers, and sometimes they have some legal education. Maybe they couldn't get to the end. Maybe they schooled partly and then they dropped off or something.
Or they've been watching sitcoms.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean,
they've been watching LA Law.
Yes, there are lots of legal
and suits.
So, Boston legals.
But sometimes the judges will pick this and in a recent case, it was actually the magistrate who was like, from the way he was answering the questions from the bench, it was clear that this guy, which of the law faculties produced this entity. So
I think the judge or the magistrate did some background work, got a bar involved. All these are the blind side of the lawyer.
But now, thanks to some of the systems put in place by the Bar Association, the online system, if you say you're a lawyer, all you need to do is to search. Now, the GBA is an association, so there are some who might not have but for what is worth, we have a database of lawyers that if the person says he's a lawyer, all you need to do is to key in everybody has a unique bar number. So if you are in doubt, ask the person, what's your unique bar number? All these things.
And also,
so that's actually a question you can ask the person who claims to be a lawyer. Yes. What's your bar number?
Exactly. And even
the ID cards.
It's not even difficult to get. On a lot of the processes you file, your bar number or your license number, your license number must be on the process. And if that is not there, that could disturb you. So the license number, like Clement said, must be valid. It mustn't expire. That license number must be on the process. So it's easy for whoever.
And now we all have ID cards.
Okay.
I mean, if you belong to the Ghana, and I need to stress, if you belong to the Ghana Bar Association, then you have an ID card that clearly shows.
But he's stressing that because it's not every lawyer who is a member of the GBA, because the GBA is an association and you join voluntarily. But an overwhelming number of lawyers are members of the GBA.
I guess, there are perks of joining, so if you don't join, it's up to you.
We'll discuss that later about the perks of joining.
Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll continue with legal trivia. Welcome back. Let's take our legal trivia for today.
Legal trivia. Did you know that a person who gives or agrees or offers to give to a public officer a valuable consideration for the grant to that person or to any other person of a benefit or an advantage or for the exercise of influence in favor of that person or any other person commits a misdemeanor? This can be found in Section 252 of Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29. Take note and do the needful. That will be all for our legal trivia today.
Well, this has been a question of law. Thank you so much for watching. Very exciting conversations. I want to say a big thank you to my guests for today, Selim Adonu and Clement Kojo Akapam. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today. My name is David Kwekusechi. Keep watching City TV.